Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video, and today we are looking at the Malayan tapir, or more broadly the Malayan tapir, because we only really have one zoo that has Malayan tapirs to see. So let's start with that one. It is the Zoo of Wuppertal. This is the only zoo that I found that had listed actual Malayan tapirs. And yeah, as we come into this Southeast Asia house, we have a little tapir thing, as even I like to call it, which is a little dryer thing that blows hot air so you can like dry your glasses and make sure that they're not all fogged up. Anyway, around this building over here we got a nice little pool for the tapirs. This is their indoor little area. We can also see some tapirs back there in the backstage. But yeah, I did not really get a amazing look at the tapirs in here. We can also see some things above us for sloths to climb around in. So this is truly just a Southeast Asia house right here. But yeah, over here is the side of the tapirs. We have the peccary on the other side, which of course we saw recently as well. But yeah, here is our Malayan tapir. We can see its butt, and that's pretty much it. So we did see them, but yeah, this is actually a mixed enclosure over here. And we can see there's a little separate area there for poodoo, Chilean poodoo, I'm pretty sure. There's one. They're very cute little deer-like thingies. I'm not an expert on poodoo, I'm gonna be completely honest there, but I think Wuppertal is the species coordinator of poodoo, so they actually have a lot of them all around the zoo. I think there's like 3 different enclosures that contain poodoo, and this is one of them. So yeah, that's it for the indoor area, and then over here we have the outdoor area. It's not very big, it's definitely not a huge enclosure, but it's nice. It's got a little lookout thing over here with some glass panels, and you can look into the enclosure. They got a bit of a moat, they got a bit of a wall, rock wall, all sorts of stuff. A nice pool in the middle there as well, so both the indoor and the outdoor have a little pool. And you can't see much because of the sun, but that is it for Wuppertal. So let's move on to some generic mixed Malayan tapirs, starting over here with AquaZoo in Leeuwarden, where they have a mixed enclosure with the tapir, capybara, and the agouti, I'm pretty sure. And over here we got a little peek of their backstage holding. So they got a little outdoor holding, and there's an indoor stall over there as well. As you come further into the zoo, you'll get to this little boardwalk over here, where you can get a better view of the habitat, if not for me getting distracted by a bird. Great camera work there past me. But yeah, so here you got the enclosure. It's got a big moat all around it. Of course, more fences on the other side of the moat as well, because both the tapir and the capybara can definitely swim. But yeah, it's just a bit of an empty field, trees with some protection around it, but quite nice in general. Next up we have Artis, which has a very interesting habitat with this kind of like modern fencing, but also ruined structure in terms of like bits of theming. You can see the tapir walking in the back there. Around these ruins is also some backstage kind of stuff, just not even really hidden. It's just right out there. I think this over here is the backstage of the flamingos, which are on the other side, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this just goes all the way around this huge yard. You got this little bridge going over this pond, which is of course very nice for both the tapirs as well as the capybara that are also in this enclosure. So yeah, this is a shared enclosure with the capybara and the Patagonian mara, which probably won't use this pond that much. I mean, maybe to drink from, of course. But yeah, I really like that little lush bit over there. There's a lot of hot wire kind of strewn about those plants to make sure the plants survive, but it does create that nice little lush bit. Over there we can see some like separation fences, so different areas of this enclosure can be closed off from one another. And yeah, here we can see the mara kind of sitting there. We can also see that backstage building in the middle, pretty classic zoo building over there. All of this kind of is a very nice mix between classic zoo and also a couple of bit more modern things like that bridge that we saw. Yeah, very nice enclosure overall, I would say. Next up we are in Parc Animalier de Bouillon, and over here we've got our tapir right there in its little enclosure. Yeah, as we've come to expect from Bouillon, there is not much going on here that is very special or inspiring. We've got a little backstage peek there. That's the backstage. And over here, as we're next to the keeper, we got the tapir right there, which is in its little area next to the stall where they can let it in and outside easily. But yeah, there is not much else to this enclosure. As we come to the other side of it, I think we can see a bit more of an overview of it. We can see it does have a little pool over there. I guess that's pretty much just a requirement for tapirs, because we do see that in pretty much every enclosure. But yeah, that was it for Bouillon. Let's go to Cologne, where we do have a much larger, much nicer enclosure over here. We've got a little moat in front, which I feel like used to have water in it, but doesn't right now. Maybe that's because it was winter. Who really knows? Once again, we have a mixed enclosure with capybara. Definitely the most commonly mixed area that I have seen, which we'll definitely see a lot more in this video still to come. But yeah, Cologne. We're right next to the Southeast Asia House over there, which is just a super cool building. But yeah, we saw it in the sloth video, of course, already a while ago. I think almost a year ago since we started making these videos. Can you imagine? Wait, no, that's not possible, because I went to Cologne in February, so we're definitely still a few months off from this being a year ago. But yeah, over here we got a nice little Southeast Asia themed food area, which gives even more views into this massive enclosure. Really quite a large enclosure over here for such a city zoo. And yeah, as you come even further along, you also get some peeks into the backstage. So here we have Südostasien. Really love that sign. It's got a lot of character over there. But yeah, here you got some views into the stalls. We can see a tapir sitting in there as well. And there's also some stalls for the capybara, education about the tapir, and all that sort of stuff. Most of these signs do specify these tapirs as Malayan tapirs, but according to Zootierlist at least, most of these are actually like non-specific. So they're mixed, basically mixed, different species mixed into one. Over here we are in the Zoo of Dortmund, and they also have quite a nice little large open enclosure. I really like this little viewing area. It's got a lot of nice details to it as well. And yeah, once again, a little pond, just a nice open field, some logs and rocks strewn about to add some detail, and quite a simple mesh barrier with some hot wire on there as well, if I have to believe that sign that is telling you not to touch it. And then a little separation area over here, but that is pretty much it. Oh yeah, and of course, once again, mixed with the capybara. And then over here in Duisburg we have a different mix, because over here the tapirs are mixed with the giant anteaters. So of course, I think it was relatively recently that we did the giant anteater video. And yeah, this is just the exact same footage. I just reused it because I didn't record much of this enclosure. But yeah, you've got a couple of bits of shelter. You've got a pretty steep moat over here, of course, also to discourage the animals from going inside of there too much, because visitors can get pretty close up to that moat. So you wouldn't want your animals to get into there too much. But yeah, this is the enclosure, and we can see the tapir sitting there underneath that little shelter. Very cute, being there together. It's a little couple. Adorable. But yeah, that's it for Duisburg. So let's move on to GaiaZoo, which probably have one of the coolest designed enclosures in this video. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm gonna go on a limb and say that. So first of all, we see the enclosure from this kind of elevated view. There's a little terrace area where we ate a nice little meal. Later you come into this indoor area where you can see a little backstage, or at least part of it. There's more like backstage that you cannot see, but there is also this little on-show area. But much cooler than all of that is once you get to this point where, I mean, just look at this. This is so freaking cool. Just these, like, the water is kind of like overflowing from this main pond, and the tapirs can't get out of that, so it's just like a safe containment as well. But it just looks so freaking cool. This is just the coolest looking enclosure that I've seen. Just period. no way around it. Yeah, this is just really awesome. But that's pretty much all there was to see for GaiaZoo. So let's move on to the next zoo, which is going to be Krefeld. Krefeld also has a pretty large mixed enclosure with tapir, rhea. We can see, I think, some alpaca in there as well. So just a nice mix of different Southeast Asia animals, I guess. It's always, I know that Eben is not a fan of too many of the Southeast Asia mixes, because often you will end up with animals that don't really overlap in range whatsoever. But yeah, once again, we've got some nice little bit of pool and just a really nice large open enclosure over here. I mean, I'm actually really quite a fan of this one. I think this is one of the better enclosures over here at Krefeld. Definitely better than the elephants from last week's video. But yeah, another backstage area, kind of separation area in the back there. And as you come around, there's also a backstage, which I did not get to record much of because employees were busy at work there and they didn't really like me filming with all of the doors to the backstage open. So yeah, this is all the footage I got. So next up we have Zoo de Lille, and this is actually this is the only enclosure that I've seen where we have a mix with tapir and maned wolves, which was super cool to see. Absolutely love that. We've got some backstage views over here. I love the wood, like this is striking black metal on the wood. Very cool look over there, and then the more natural wood of the surrounding enclosure. But yeah, over here we see the maned wolf kind of trotting about the enclosure, and then over here we've got the tapir lying over there. So yeah, super awesome mix right there. I was really happy to actually see this because I knew this was a possible mix. I just didn't know where I was going to see it, and then in Lille I came across it and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But yeah, we can see more bits of vegetation kind of fenced off, and then over here there's one more final kind of outcropping viewing point where you get kind of into the enclosure a little bit. You see the backstage from the other side. We can also see in the back we saw maned wolf walking where, which I want to zoom in on, and this goes pretty quickly, but there's actually a really cool detail here which is interesting, is that there are certain areas that are kind of have these logs kind of sectioned off, and the maned wolves are able to go in between these logs. Over here is another one of those sections. So the maned wolves are able to go in there to, I guess, get away from the tapirs, which I wasn't expecting. You'd think that you want to create an area for the tapirs to get away from the wolves, and not the other way around. But I guess that's more difficult because you probably can't make something that a tapir can fit through and the wolves can. So I guess this is the only thing that they can really do in that regard. But it's interesting, it's neat. Over here, as I kept talking, we missed the zoo name, but this is Monde Sauvage, which has a very large tapir enclosure as well, which is also mixed with all sorts of species, including I think alpaca once again. This enclosure is adjacent to the car safari of Monde Sauvage, but you don't actually go through it. The car safari of Monde Sauvage is only one big field kind of with all sorts of savanna animals, and then there's a couple of enclosures kind of adjacent to it, but the main view for this enclosure isn't even the car safari, it's just a walking route over here. You can get all sorts of views all around it, and it's actually quite a nice little Southeast Asia area. There's maned wolves across from this as well. They're not in the enclosure with them, there's a completely different mix. We can also see some rhea, some alpaca or llama. I really don't know. I didn't look it up. And I think there's probably capybara in here as well. That would make sense. So yeah, really quite a nice large enclosure once again. Tapirs, in general, I'd say tapirs got it pretty good. We have only seen a couple of exhibits that are on the smaller side. So very nice there. Next up, we have the Zoo of Münster, which is a brand new enclosure that's actually still in process of being built. The indoor area, as we can see over here, has pretty much been finished already. So we got a bunch of cool faux rock work, some faux trees. We're inside this huge tropical dome, which is already pretty cool in and of itself. But yeah, all sorts of different little viewing areas embedded in this faux rock, and you can look into the enclosure. There's more off-show backstage in the back as well, and they got a small little pool embedded into these rocks that we can see over here. This is also for anteaters once again, but they weren't in here at the moment. You can also go onto this huge elevated bridge to get more of a overview of all the enclosures in the dome, including the tapir enclosure, of course. So yeah, as we get on here, we get a lovely view of what the enclosure looks like from above. And then we can go outside, which is where the enclosure was still under construction when I was there. I feel like they'd probably be getting close to finishing it by the end of this year or something. Maybe it's already finished even, I wouldn't know. But yeah, it's a quite a nice enclosure over here. I'm not a huge fan of the kind of steep faux rock walls, but maybe that's something that's still gonna be improved. But even then, it still feels a little bit like a pit enclosure, mostly. But yeah, that's it for Münster. Let's continue to the next zoo, which will be the Zoo of Osnabrück. And in Osnabrück we are also entering this Southeast Asia house, Südostasien house, or however the Germans would pronounce that. And once again here we can see like these climbing structures for sloths to go all over the place as much as they want. I didn't see the sloth. There was a sign being like, this is their favorite places to hang out, but I didn't see them in any of them. But yeah, when the tapirs are inside, this one was very curious about my camera, so he got all the way right up to me. But yeah, they got this lovely little indoor yard, more backstage, kind of off-show in the back. But yeah, there's a little moat going all the way around this, and the tapir are allowed to go into the moat as well for a little bath. You can see that gnarly climbing structure over there. But yeah, here's their little pool over there. Of course, it's also nice for if the tapir were to fall into the boat, they can of course get out again. And this is their outdoor exhibit. Once again, not too huge. I feel like this one's pretty similar in size to the one that we saw at Wuppertal, except that this one has a much larger pool as well. And this one is a mixed exhibit with the capybara. So that's pretty cool right there as well. We can also see some windows in the back in that kind of log wall. Those windows are actually giving you a view into the main wolf exhibit. So it's not a mixed enclosure, but you can kind of get that cross view going over there, which is pretty neat. So over here we are in Zooparc Overloon, which is kind of the start of the Mekong River area. And you've got a very large tapir enclosure right here with a big pool, some kind of shelter in the back, very minimal. We could also see some vicuna in the background in a different enclosure, kind of connected to, not connected, but like just a thin mesh fence behind it, so you get a bit of that cross viewing. But yeah, many different viewpoints into this exhibit, but overall it's kind of an empty field. It used to be a mixed species habitat with capybara, but the capybara have since moved to a different exhibit, I'm pretty sure. So next up is Pairi Daiza. This is the last enclosure for this video, and yeah, just like with the anteater video, this is just the same thing, because this is all the footage I have from this enclosure really. I did not see the tapirs. All I saw here were the capybara kind of sitting in the grass there, so that's all I managed to see. But yeah, it's a pretty nice enclosure. It's got a cool vibe to it. It's kind of part of the old part of the zoo, so it's not like overly designed or anything. It's just a nice little natural bit of landscape. So yeah, that is gonna be it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed and got some tapir inspiration from it. I'm gonna send you guys off with the cool footage that I got over here at GaiaZoo in that incredible enclosure with the water, and the tapirs over here making full use of that. And yeah, this was just an incredible experience right over here. You can see all the water spilling over because of the tapir swimming around. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.